We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome in, last day of February 2023. Lakers are in town, no LeBron. And that's a sad story. So LeBron James was playing in this great comeback against Dallas the other night. Hurt his right foot. He continued to play, though, and you got to wonder now. Did he do some damage? Because according to Woj, not only is he not going to be in Memphis tonight, he's going to be out for what Woj is saying is several weeks with a right foot injury. And J-Mo, didn't you just tell me he is actually going out of the Lakers organization to find his own orthopedic specialist to tell him what's wrong?
Yeah, I believe it was Shams that said that he's looking for outside doctors to talk to about this, getting outside opinions.
So, I don't know, some guy that is on Twitter a lot that claims to be an NBA analyst basically said that at first LeBron was afraid to come to Memphis to take on Ja, which was an absurd notion. It wouldn't be the first time, though, that LeBron just didn't play against Memphis. When he was at the Big Three in Cleveland, all Big Three didn't show up. And people had bought presents for Christmas. It was around the Christmas holidays, and he didn't show. But this time I think it is a legit injury. And you and I think we were talking just the other day, or was I having this conversation somewhere else, where I kind of thought, no, I think it was you and me, that I thought they were going to get into postseason play, whether it was a play-in position or not, probably overtaking OKC. Now you wonder, without LeBron, who, by the way, at age, 38?
That's right.
He's still putting up numbers that he did when he was 28.
There was a period of time right after he turned 28, he was 38. He was averaging his age for that period since he turned 38, since the turn of the new year, which is crazy to even imagine that. It's unbelievable.
It's nuts. But my point is the production of the guy is still superstar status, still NBA All-Star status, probably all NBA status.
It might be the best he's ever played. I mean, seriously.
But here's what happens with Father Time. Seriously, you become more injury prone. He took himself out of the All-Star game because he got his hand caught up in the rim, right? And that was smart of him. Now he comes out and 2 games later into the season after the All-Star break, now he hurts his right foot and he may be out until playoff time. Because if it's several weeks, when did the playoffs start? Like April 1st? April 12th? I don't know why that rings a bell, but it kind of does.
April 9th. Regular season ends April 9th, so that would get 11th, 12th, something like that.
Somewhere in there. So what are we talking about? So you got all of March and the first 2 weeks of April is really what you're talking about 6 weeks. So you're hoping he's only out for 3-4 weeks, right? We're going to find out more, but that will really hurt the Lakers' chances, I think, in the long run.
And I believe they said D'Angelo Russell is out, too, for tonight. Now, I don't think it's the same significant injury that LeBron has, but still, when you're trying to win games to make the playoffs.
And they just got him back,
just got him. That's right.
You know what the Grizz are favored by in this game?
That's 8 this morning?
9.5.
Wow.
9.5, but you know what? I think I'd take them. If they don't have Russell, who they just got, if they don't have LeBron, there's no more Westwood, a deal play. I got to tell you, that's why they're 9.5 point favorites. I would lean toward taking Memphis, which is still playing with a big chip on their shoulder. There will be no Steven Adams, but Taylor Jenkins, who never gives anything away, hinted in a strong way he would be back at the end of the week. So what's the end of the week? That would be Denver, Friday, Mile High City. And that'll be a game to write down because Denver is laying in waiting for the Grizzlies after the embarrassment of what happened over the weekend. Now they got to play Houston after tonight, right? They play them tomorrow night in Houston.
That's right.
Now they've lost 8 games in a row on the road. I'm going to tell you they're going to beat Houston. They're going to end that. And then we'll really see, because this, to me, will be a barometer game. Because the Grizzlies have played poorly against the West, winning teams in the West in particular. They've played poorly on the road. I do think they're going to beat Houston. But this is the game that will tell you, and they'll have Adams back, hopefully, where they really stand. Is that fair?
More than fair. I would say if you can get more than 2 wins, if you can get 3 wins on this 4-game road trip, Houston, Denver, and then both LAs, I'm pretty happy with that personally.
I'm excited a little bit about tonight. Tough ticket. I know it's going to be packed in that place. Going to be crazy. And I just, there are some things that you're really high on this year. One's the fans' excitement the last couple of years since the emergence of Ja is fun to watch. It's a little like, what's going to happen Sunday. I think it's going to be close to a sellout for the Tigers and Houston. Do you know, this is the craziest thing. Matt Dillon, who we call the professor, who really is a historian, I think Matt was really digging on this. Memphis has been a number 1 team, right? Memphis has never hosted in all the time that they've played great teams over all these years, including Louisville, right? Cincinnati at their peak. They have never hosted a number 1 team. And unless something crazy happens, Houston will be number 1 when they come to FedEx Forum. They've never beaten a number 1 team. They were a number 1 team, and they lost to number 2, Tennessee.
So that's an asterisk, right? Because they were the number 1 team other than Memphis.
Right.
In that case.
So if they were to beat Houston, I believe, if anybody knows different, text us, 901-360-8255. But I believe if they beat Houston on Sunday, that would be the very first win against the number 1 team. The only one, and I meant to ask Matt about this, when Cincinnati had Kenyon Martin and they were number 1, and they were number 1 coming into the tournament, lost their number 1 seed because Kenyon Martin got injured against St. Louis in the first round game of the CUSA tournament at the Old Pyramid. I wonder if they came to town as a number 1. But I'm really not sure. I know they lost their number 1 seeding. They may not have been the number 1 overall, though. But this could be historic on Sunday. That crowd's going to be great, but this crowd tonight is going to be outstanding. And I may have had this conversation with you a little bit earlier, but Santi Aldama, he's got to be one of the most improved players in the NBA this year, wouldn't you say?
I would totally agree. One of the and also a much better on both sides of the ball than people think he is. He scores the ball well.
Oh yeah,
he's an excellent on-ball defender. A lot, and I don't think anyone would ever have assumed that about just discriminating against him just because the way he looks. He's a tall, lanky forward. Why would he be a good defender? But he's very good.
No, he is. He's long and he anticipates. Well, he did a great job of filling in for Triple J, and they've got him in the rotation, and he's a guy they're counting on. There was a play earlier this week. I can't remember the game. I just saw the highlight. I was watching it on Twitter, where Ja throws the ball a little behind him. He goes up and does a 360 and dunked it.
That's right. The lob.
Was that against Denver?
What? No, it was. Maybe it was against Denver, or was it the game before Denver?
It was this week.
Yeah,
I know
that's right.
that. Or this past week. And Ja's
It was the Sixers. It was definitely the
against
Sixers.
Philly.
Mm-hmm.
So Ja's at the top of the key, and he throws the ball up, and it's a little behind. So Aldama literally reaches back behind him and does a 360 and dunks the ball.
Crazy.
That was Dominique Wilkins-like. It was crazy. That was Michael Jordan-esque. It was wild. He's becoming more and more fun to watch, that is for sure.
Might be the most consistent player off the bench for the Grizzlies this year. Tyus Jones would have to be up there too. But
Tyus Jones actually, until the Denver game, he's been in a bad shooting slump.
He has been.
I've
heard a rumor that his wife might have just given birth to their second child, so that's an excuse for Tyus Jones in that regard. Maybe a little sleepy.
Maybe that's true. I don't know what it was, but he's been in a bad slump, and that kind of corresponded with this rough stretch that Memphis has had, because normally the guy comes in and he's been not just a setup guy, but he will provide you long-range help, and he's been way off until the Denver game. The guy, how many threes did he hit in that Denver game? If you can look that up real quick.
4?
It was significant, and that helped to build the lead because he's the key to that second unit. When Ja goes out, I like it when they played him and Ja together, actually. It's a lot of fun to watch on occasion when Tyus is on. But
Tyus hit 5 threes.
5 threes. I knew it was significant.
And Luke Kennard at 4. There you go. It's 9 threes right there between those. Let's do that every game.
Yeah, you do that, and you'll keep that number 2 seed.
That's right.
I can tell you. I can't really seriously wait until Friday because that to me is a real barometer game. What happens, you've got altitude issues. You got revenge for the Nuggets. You're not good on the road. You're not good against winning Western Conference teams. If you are ready to make your run, you're getting Steven Adams back. We shall see on Friday. What a weekend this is going to be, right? Now, the Tigers have to win on Thursday, 8 o'clock, ESPN, SMU. They'll be big favorites in that game. Crazy things have happened to the Tigers at Moody.
Homecoming or revenge game.
We're going to ask Mike DeCourcy because remember Lenardi said all you had to do is win 2 of your 4. They did that, and then he kind of moved the target. So I was looking up bracketology today. New stuff. Lenardi's got him as a 10. Palm's got him as a 10. Bill Bender, who writes and does bracketology for the Sporting News, DeCourcy's thing, because he does it for Fox. He's got him as a 10. DeCourcy last week had him as an 11. Does that mean you're in?
I think it has to. Because the American is a 2-bid league, depending on how you want to look at it. I don't think that they're going to fall out of that necessarily ranking. They're not going to make the American into a 1-bid league, and then Memphis has the second bid. I think the only way at this point, I mean, if you lose these games in dramatic fashion and it's terrible, okay, I understand. But even then, I think the only way Memphis misses the tournament at this point is if somebody other than Memphis or Houston wins the American Conference Championship.
But they're not supposed to punish a league if something like that occurs. I mean, if Memphis is poised, right, and their net remains 38 or better, and they were to get tripped up in the tournament and Houston got upset in the championship game, why would Memphis be out? Houston's certainly going to be in. Right now, they're number 1 seed.
That's a good point. It might affect the teams on the bubble more than it would affect Memphis. I guess I was just thinking in terms of how many bids the league would get. But in that regard, if Memphis is safely in, then maybe it turns into a 3-bid league. Would you be surprised if it was a 3-bid league, though, if they win that? Or you think it would make sense to move one of those teams off the bubble?
I think that's just the tough luck for whoever's on the bubble.
Right.
And Memphis might be on the bubble depending on what occurs.
Right.
If they were to lose to SMU, they would certainly be on the bubble. That would be made up if they beat Houston at the end of the regular season. They win those both. I don't know what the ceiling is, but I don't think they can get higher than a 7 seed. I don't think they can get better than that. I'm not sure they can get to that. I'd hate to see them win out and be an 8 seed. That would really be terrible.
Certainly.
We'll have to sort it all out. The other thing that's interesting to me is when you look at the total number of entries in from each league, like the Big Ten with 9 teams in. I'm sorry. Michigan, I believe, look up their net. I think it's 59. I looked it all up today. I did not write that down. How, 59 or 55? Maybe it's 55. How in the world are they in? Seriously. West Virginia is in
54.
54. What's their record?
17-12.
17-12. And a 54 net, and they're in? Wow. You know, the Big 12 has 8 teams in. West Virginia, what's their net? Look this up. West Virginia is under 500 big time in their league. I think, what do they got, 17 wins? How are they in? I understand that the Big 12 had one of the great winning percentages of out-of-conference games in the history of rankings.
West
Seriously.
Virginia, 23 net.
It's a 23 net?
23 net. I'm telling you, West Virginia's good. I like them.
Wait. What's their record?
17-13. And in the league,
4 games over 500.
6-11 in their
and
league.
They're 6-11, and their net's 23. How can that be?
That's a tough league.
That's crazy.
And all their losses in their league, albeit for Texas, Baylor, and Kansas, are road losses.
Yeah. We're going to ask Mike DeCourcy about all of that in the bracketology, and he will come your way right after our first commercial break. Baseball with Tim Doolin today. Lots to talk about, including when it comes to Major League Baseball, the pitch clock and the new bases. Already, a game was lost, I guess I should say, by a guy not getting in the batter's box quick enough.
With 8 seconds left, they say.
Right. So a pitcher has 15 seconds to deliver it. The batter must be in the box by 8 seconds, and he wasn't. Tossed out with the bases loaded.
Isn't that weird? Why not just make it 0? Like, why don't you just move it down 8 seconds and that's 0? The clock hits 0. What's the extra 8 seconds for? The pitcher's onus to throw the ball in that 8 seconds?
Wait, once that guy's in, yeah. No, I mean, the pitcher got 15 seconds.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know why.
Isn't that strange?
I mean, it's 15 seconds. If you're not in or you're not ready, that's on you.
All this newfangled stuff is it. And you can only pick off a certain amount of times. So I get 3 pickoffs, let's say. I pick off twice. So now the runner makes me pick off a third time. Well, I can't step off. Otherwise, he gets a base or it's a ball. So he just gets the second base.
Well, here's the worst part about it is if you've thrown over 3 times, now I can take as big a lead as I want.
Why don't you
can't
just run?
throw over.
Just run. What are you waiting to steal for?
I mean, you wouldn't. You'd take a huge lead, and as soon as he's about to throw, boom, you go.
I just don't get it.
Yeah, well, that rule might change. I don't know. They're trying to get this thing faster. I understand the reason why. I mean, numbers keep getting smaller when it comes to interest in baseball. So you got to change. You got to be flexible. I'm not sure these are terrible things. We'll see if it really does change the quality of the game. It's spring training. Who cares about the game?
Let's see if they do it in July. That's right.
Let's see if in a game it really matters how close they will stick to these new rules. We'll talk with him. Also, there's an interesting story. You know, Tony Vitello, the Tennessee head coach, he suspended himself 1 game. Literally, he tampered with another player from another team.
From Houston. It was a shortstop from Houston, I believe, is the school. Let me double-check that.
I can't remember. It was a shortstop from another school. I want to say it was Pittsburgh, but I could be wrong. And, there was a rumor.
Kansas.
Okay, Kansas. There's a rumor that he was turned in by another SEC coach. How about that?
Telling on each other.
Little intrigue there. But he was tampering with a guy. And, the SEC teams are not off to the usual flying start they are against non-conference competition. And Tim Doolin is going to whisper in our ear. He thinks some of that has to do with the fact of NIL and transfer portal. We'll get into that a little bit later. Congratulations, DeAndre Williams. DeAndre Williams has now won 3 Players of the Week. You know how many Kendrick Davis has won this year?
3.
6.
Oh, double him up.
So how about this? 9 for the 2 from Memphis. I can't imagine Kendrick Davis is not Player of the Year. But how do you pick the Player of the Year on a team that finishes second? Because Houston's already wrapped it up, and they don't count the tournament, right? Coaches do all this, not media. But how do you sort this out? Part of the problem for Houston is they don't have one player that just wins these things because they're so team oriented. I would say their most valuable guy is the guy that killed Memphis, is Roberts, their interior player.
So you think someone from the best team should generally win it, but Kendrick Davis is clearly the best player in the league.
I think he is. I would, if I were voting, I would vote for him. He leads the league in scoring. He leads the league in assists. Their team is second best. Now, they may split with Houston, so if you go head-to-head, we'll see what happens. If Roberts has another great game against Memphis, how do you pick him over Kendrick Davis? Seriously.
Yeah, I don't think you can. And then the question for me, you might know this better than me, is who makes the all-conference teams? Clearly, Memphis would have 2 on the first team, I would imagine. Does Houston have 2 or more on the first? Oh, they do. So that's 4 players from 2 teams.
They're going to have, out of these 3 guys, Sasser, who's their best scorer.
Player of the Year candidate, I believe.
Yeah. Well, he's preseason Player of the Year.
Really?
Sasser, Roberts, who I'm talking about, who I think is their most valuable guy, and the freshman, Walker. Jarris Walker, who did not play well against the U of M. The freshman of the year, in my mind, is the kid from UCF, Hendricks. That kid, Taylor Hendricks, he's first-round pick by most of the mock drafts.
Wow, so 2 teams make up the entire All-American first team.
Well, I don't know if that'll be the case. Somebody from Tulane will get on there.
You think so?
Yeah, somebody will. We got to take a quick timeout. When we come back, we do talk college basketball. That is with Mike DeCourcy. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios. And a reminder that preseason patio and pool sale is really in full swing, and you can save big with the area's largest selection of patio furniture. And, pool season's right around the corner. In fact, mine's getting work done right now. Oh, man, what a deal. By now, get ahead of the commercial rush that you're going to get for summer. You get early bird pricing on the pools and get that installation in as quickly as you can. You can't beat what's happening at Family Leisure, and our title sponsor, it's Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, where they've got a deal on Hyundais. So if you don't know, Hyundai has a luxury car called Genesis, and right now their littlest one, the little sports car that I call a rocket, it's the G70. If you buy one of those and you use Genesis financing, they will give you $1,000. That's right. You get a rebate of $1,000 just to do business with them. And this car, well, you got to drive it to believe it. Go see Vinny Gerard. Get to Highway 78. That's Lamar. And the very first exit in Craft Road in Mississippi. Turn left, you're there. Go see Vinny. Check out the Genesis G70 and the deal at Homer Skelton Hyundai. Mike DeCourcy, the Hall of Famer from the Sporting News, is next.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Everyone needs protection, whether you're on the field or on the road, so make sure you have the best. Bob Simpson State Farm Insurance can buckle you up with auto insurance, can back you up with life and health insurance, cover your business whether it's starting, growing, or maturing, and don't forget to insure your home, no matter if you're an owner or a renter. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call Bob Simpson today at 901-381-1233 or go online and get a free quote at bobsimpson.org. Stay protected with your good neighbor, Bob Simpson.
Folks are falling head over heels for these wheels and deals at DeSoto Auto Sales. It's the season of love. They're on a mission to help you meet your match. So if you've fallen out of love with your old ride, or other dealers have left you brokenhearted, get ready to fall head over heels for their wheels and deals. DeSoto Auto Sales has a solution for every situation. Low monthly payments? No problem. Low down payments? You could drive away for just a couple of bucks down. Trade-ins? DeSoto Auto Sales is paying way more than it's worth, and you could even lower your monthly payment in the process. Broken up over past credit mishaps? DeSoto Auto Sales credit approval process is the best matchmaker. DeSoto Auto Sales will hook you up with banks and lenders who want to approve you. It's time to fall in love, Mid-South, because you'll go head over heels for these wheels and deals when you drive off the lot in your new car for less. But hurry, this deal will fade away faster than first love. See all the wheels and deals at DeSotoAutosales.com. That's DeSotoAutoSales.com.
These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Free, yeah. Add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidate worth interviewing. Did you know every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Wow. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/herd, linkedin.com/herd to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
So you need to sell your house? I have the solution. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill at I Buy Houses. Any house, any area, as is. It's literally as simple as that. Just pick up your phone. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill at I Buy Houses. Guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your house fast, call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill at I Buy Houses.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome back in. Always a pleasure to chat with our friend from the Sporting News, Mike DeCourcy, who's brought to you by Ken Garland. Ken Garland, custom home builders like Mike, very trustworthy, been around he's been around longer than Mike, because if you count his dad in this business, we're talking 65 years of a Ken Garland building dream homes, doing great things all throughout our Metroplex. Go to kengarland.com. You'll see what I'm talking about, whether it's land, which you're not sure how to utilize. Maybe you've had it in your family for a while. He knows. Maybe you're looking for land. He's got it. Maybe you want to stay where you are, but you want modern amenities. I call that renovation with innovation. You get all the modern amenities, and now all of a sudden that wonderful, comfortable lot matches it with a modern palace. All you got to do is call. He's fun to talk to. He sees little details, big picture, all at one time. 751-1632, and he'll assure you, he does this with all his clients. He works closely with them all. You'll get quality construction on time, on budget. 2 generations. Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. To Indy we go. Mike DeCourcy joins us now. I've got your bracket, which you're going to change again today, in my hands. 9 Big Ten teams, 8 teams from the Big 12. You did a great piece, I thought, on talking about how good the Big 12 is by non-conference percentage of winning, how bad the ACC is this year. I still wonder about a couple of teams, for instance. 9 teams in the Big Michigan State deserves in your last bracket to be an 8 seed with a 17-11 record, 1 game over 500. Or how about this one? The 8th team in the best by everybody's reckoning here, the Big 12. The 8th team is West Virginia. West Virginia is 6-11 in their own league.
Yes.
They're 17 and they're 4 games over 500. How are they in this tournament? And you got them as an 11.
They'd be much better off in the ACC, where they could play Louisville twice,
right,
and Georgia Tech twice, and Boston College twice, and Florida State twice. That's a whole lot more fun because you're winning all the time than in the Big 12, where there is literally no place to hide. There's never been a league like this, Dave. They have no bad teams. The worst team in their league beat the best team in the country, the current number 1 overall seed, according to the committee.
Oklahoma.
They beat the best Oklahoma, the worst team in the league, beat the best team in the country by 24 points. And that's where you go to get a win in the Big 12. And that's why West Virginia's in. And Michigan State has 6 quad 1 wins, 10 wins. 10 of their 17 wins are over the first 2 quadrants. They played by far the most difficult non-conference schedule of any power conference team. And so they're an 8 seed. And I'm getting yelled at by Michigan State fans who say they're a 6. So I can't win on either side.
No. All right, so the brackets I've looked at the brackets that I think have just come out. I know Bill Bender does it because you do it for Fox. He does it for Sporting News. He's got the Tigers as a 10. Palm has the Tigers as a 10, by the way, playing Kentucky. That would be unbelievable to play.
Interesting coincidence there. I'm not going to give away any no spoilers, but there may be a bracket comes out a little bit. And it's the exact same matchup.
So you're moving Memphis up to 10 then?
Wait, no, actually, it's not the exact same matchup. I lied. They're in the same region, but I do have Memphis climbing, yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so I'm in step with those guys.
All right, and so Lenardi's got him at 10. So Lenardi did an interesting thing. He moved the target for Memphis. As the game was being played with Memphis at Wichita State, Lenardi proclaimed during the first half of that game that if Memphis were to go 2-2 in their last 4 games, they'd be in. Jerry Palm never said that. He said they had to go 3-1, which would mean they'd have to beat either SMU tomorrow, Thursday night, or Sunday in the big showdown at FedEx Forum, 11 a.m. on CBS. They're taking on Houston. I'm asking you right now, if Memphis, with those 2 wins, if they were to lose to SMU, certainly Houston, would they still be in?
Yeah, they'd still be in the bracket then. But then what? Like we're counting worst case scenarios. Then they'd go out and maybe I don't know what the bracket would say. But let's say they had East Carolina or something. If you lose that, then you're worried. Okay, but the bubble is far removed from the Tigers at this point. I don't. When you're looking at West Virginia and Oak State and Carolina on the opposite side and Clemson, I don't think those teams have what the Tigers have. I have the Tigers ahead of Auburn.
Well, they beat them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they owned that game. I mean, it wasn't easy, but they owned that game. I'm not saying head to head is everything, but I don't think the Tigers have done anything to take themselves out of this tournament at this point. And I don't think that they have given themselves enough time to play themselves out now. By getting the victories they got late. I mean, the UCF game, I mean, that was an important win. That's when they were in peril. When that game started to go south, that's when things could have gone either way. Once they finished that off, I thought they were going to be okay. And everything they've done since has been solid. And even to the extent of playing Houston to the degree that they did, I think helps them because it suggests that they're a significant team to be able to do that against a top seed, the number 1 poll team, a top seed on everybody's bracket, and to be able to do that without your best player suggests that unless you do something that to convince us otherwise, that you're a tournament team.
All right, let's play a game of what if here. I think Memphis is going to beat Southern Methodist. I think SMU is just not a very good team this year, to be honest. Then I think if everybody is healthy and on their game in FedEx Forum, I think they're going to beat Houston. That would be the first time, by the way, in history that Memphis beat a number 1, which is amazing. They've been a number 1 several times.
Right.
They've never beaten a number 1. So, and then let's just say they win the tournament. What would their ceiling be as far as seeding goes? If they were to win those 5 games in a row, actually I think it would end up being 7 in a row, but they would get 2 quad 1 wins at least out of all that.
Yeah, here's the problem. You're still playing the Sunday championship game. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, see, that game's not going to go really into the mix unless it's necessary for auto qualification, and I don't think it will be for the Tigers.
Right.
Certainly not if they get to that point. It wouldn't. So that game, the second Houston win, the theoretical second Houston win, not going to move your needle. And so it's actually the first Houston win, I think, more than likely secures them on the 10 line. That's really kind of what you'd rather. Not that there's a huge difference between 1 and 2 this year. I think there's a huge difference between 2 and 3, or a significant difference between 2 and 3. I don't think there's a huge difference between the ones and the twos. So if you got into an 8-9 game, I think the difference would be minimal. So I think that you want to go beat Houston because you want to go beat Houston, right? I mean, build this team's confidence, build its level of achievement, be able to say, hey, not just that you beat the number one team, but you beat the team that was supposed to win your league from day one and that did, and you got them on your court and you beat them.
So you're saying pretty much the 10 is where Memphis is staring.
I think that's likely. It's not impossible for them to go into the 8-9 game. It doesn't, and again, I don't think it hurts them immeasurably because I don't think there is a huge difference between you obviously you have a difficult first round game whether you're playing a 7 or an 8 or a 9, depending on which side of the 8-9 game you're on. You're having a difficult first round game, and then your second round game would be extraordinarily difficult as well as it was a year ago when they played the Zags and the Tigers played so well. I don't think that anything really makes a huge difference for them at this point.
So there's no way they could get to a 7.
I don't think there is because of that Sunday championship game. I don't think so because the level, you have to do things. And the things that Memphis would be doing other than the first Houston win wouldn't move you up to 7. I mean, like everybody in those lines and at 8 and 9 isn't going to lose 5 more games or 3 more games or whatever. I mean, that's just it's statistically unlikely because I would guess, without looking at it, I would guess that some of those games will even be against one another in various conference tournaments. So I don't see that happening because of that obstacle of the late Sunday championship game.
All right. You in that piece had an interesting debate, let's put it that way, pertaining to something Jim Boeheim, I think, brought up, which is that it used to be with the old RPI that there was a section in there for your last 10 games or something along those lines.
Right.
And Boeheim's assertion is that what happens in November isn't nearly as important as what happens in late February and early March. So what is your take on all of that? Is it and should it be really the full resume?
Yeah, I did this probably around 2004, 2005, something like that. I have no idea what made me notice that the last 10 games, the criteria, that criterion, it didn't seem to jibe with what we were seeing in tournaments. So I sat down and I said, okay, this team went 4-6, how'd they do? This team went 9-1, how'd they do? And there was no statistical correlation between how you did in your last 10 games and how you did in the tournament. Some teams finished terribly and went in and did great. Some teams finished great, went in and lost their first game. Some teams, there were like teams that were, I always laugh because like if you were like Kentucky in 2015, you were 10-0, 10-0, 10-0, right? Like you never lost.
Right.
So of course you were great in your last 10 games and then you made the Final Four. So it doesn't matter, but people believe in myth is the simple reality. They see a team do great down the stretch and they're hot and then they go in and do well in the tournament. But like UConn is an example in 2011 when they won the championship. They went out on the last day of the regular season and got hammered by Notre Dame. Last day of the regular season, embarrassed. Okay? Then they go out and they win five games in a row, I believe it was, to win the Big East tournament. And then they got a 3 seed because of that, and then they went and won 6 games in the NCAA. So were they hot when they came in? Well, they just got hammered by Notre Dame. Louisville in 2014, or UConn, played Louisville on the last day of the 2014 regular season and lost by 40 points.
Right.
On the last day of the regular season. And they took the championship as a 7 seed. So it's just myth. And it's what the coaches want to believe because it used to be that way. But it's not the truth. And I mean, Iowa a year ago comes into the field house here in Indy, and they win 4 games in 4 days, and they're all against tournament contenders. and Keegan Murray is ripping up the world, and man, they're going to be tough to stop from scoring. And then they play Richmond, and they scored like 50 points, and they lost. And it's just myth. And I proved it statistically, and I kept pounding on that. And it may be the one thing I've ever changed in college basketball, or maybe Mike Slive wasn't listening to me at all, and somebody else brought it to them independently. I don't know, but I'm taking credit.
Take it. We'll give it to you. I love it.
And Mike, the great Mike Slive, we miss him. And he was the chair that year, and they said it's out. And I was really happy. And of course, people still swear by that if you lose a lot of games late, and here's the fundamental difference, Dave, is that when you get in the NCAA tournament, the first thing they tell you is you're not allowed to play anybody from your conference for a while. And the last thing you do in the regular season is you play conference game. They're all conference games. It's different because those teams know you better than anybody, and they've got you figured out, and you have to fight through that. But in the NCAA tournament, they're not as familiar with you. Some of them may have rarely seen you play. And, so, obviously they're going to study film and all that, but it's not the same as having that familiarity, and sometimes that helps.
Oh, wow. I am just seeing this, and so we're going to end with this very quickly because I'm out of time, really. Former Virginia coach Terry Holland has passed away.
Yeah, that happened. Yeah, he had Alzheimer's. He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's around 2019. It's very sad. He was a terrific person. I don't know anybody who knew Terry Holland well who didn't just insist that he was like the best guy. And it's a shame that illness hit him, and it damaged the last several years of his life, and almost certainly shortened his life as well. But he was a great person and did a really nice job as a basketball coach.
No doubt, Ralph Sampson's coach. Wow. That's tough to hear. Thank you, Mike. As always, we appreciate it. I didn't realize it was your clause. We're going to call this the DeCourcy clause.
Oh, right.
Changed the last 10 and kicked it out of there. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. That is Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, brought to you by Conway. Hey, beat the rush. Schedule your $69 air conditioning tune-up now with Conway. An actual AC tune-up saves you money in the long run and helps prevent costly breakdowns during the hottest months of the year. It's just a little tease we got right now. So keep your family cool all summer long by calling Conway today, 384-3511, or you can visit conwayservices.com for details, terms, and conditions. Tim Doolin on baseball. He comes your way in just a minute.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
It may be cold, but the Gossett Mitsubishi Spring Sales Event will heat you up. Discover a new way to ride in your 2023 Mitsubishi Mirage and get 39 MPG combined for $17,520 or $289 a month and $0 down. And check out 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport for $29 a month, 29 MPG Highway, or get 2.9 for 36 months. Want peace of mind? We Gossett with Mitsubishi's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. 2023 Mitsubishi Mirage, $289 per month. 2023 Outlander Sport, $429 per month. You won't go wrong ever when you shop Gossett Mitsubishi, 1870 Covington Pike, or shop online at memphismitsubishi.com. You want it? We Gossett at Gossett Mitsubishi.
If you want it, we Gossett at Gossett Motor Cars.
Mirage PHW 2846, MSRP 18020, Sport PU 2230, MSRP 29545, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 695, excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 2/28/2023. Dealer stock only.
Getaway Sports Bar, the best kept secret in town. Open noon to 1:30 a.m. 7 days a week. Garvin, the owner, created this SEC NFL Dream Bar over 20 years ago. You'll never miss a minute of action. 10 TVs, 5 70-inch TVs for all the big games. Rack them up on 6 pool tables. Coldest beer in town. Grab you a pool stick and get you some good bar grub. 100% Angus burgers, big and moist chicken tenders. Daily happy hour Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 p.m. with long neck domestics, $2.25. Getaway Sports Bar, 4632 Winchester.
This is an important notice to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt. You may not be required to pay it all back because there are special programs now in effect that will significantly reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. These programs, which the credit card companies like to keep secret, exist to aid American consumers struggling with overwhelming credit card debt by offering tremendous savings and real debt relief. Accredited Debt Relief has established a special hotline for you to call and learn what savings you qualify for. They've helped qualify consumers with over $1 billion in debt and are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. So don't wait. Get the relief you need during these hard economic times. For this free information, call the Accredited Debt Relief Hotline now. Call 800-585-8282. 800-585-8282. That's 800-585-8282.
Moving is stressful, but Black Tie Moving can take the worry out of the process. Whether you're moving across town or across country, moving your home or your office, your personal moving concierge from Black Tie Moving will work with you to design a plan that perfectly fits your budget and needs. And they're available 24/7 to answer any questions you have. Give Black Tie Moving a call at 901-316-6196 or go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis to get your personal, no obligation quote from the moving experts at Black Tie Moving.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Let's talk a little baseball with our man. That would be Tim Doolin, and the great thing about Tim is you can cover the gamut from the up-and-coming rising high school stars to college baseball, which we'll get into here, to Major League Baseball. Let me start with Carrick Jackson and the start that the Tigers have had in his first year as the Tiger skipper. They've won 2 series over Samford and Youngstown, a single game against Mississippi Valley. They're 6-2 to begin with. Are they really becoming a good baseball team right off the bat, or is this somewhat the competition between those 3 schools? Good morning.
I think it's probably a combination of the two. I think that just from the people that I've talked that are in and close to the program, he's definitely changing the culture. The entire staff is, and I think he's making players very accountable and buying into what his program is and his system is going to be all about. And they're off to a good start. Regardless of the competition, it's always good to get off to a good start prior to getting into your conference play. So I think it's a little bit too early, and I don't think that he would be far from agreeing with. It's going to be a process. It's going to take him some time to get his players into the program. Obviously, the portal has helped, and it's helping a lot of schools. But in his case, I think it's going to continue to help. And when you get off to a start like this, it's obviously a good thing. And the weather needs to get a little bit more consistent. I think that'll help too with all these teams that have started out this early.
Well, he's got 2 guys over 400, Austin Baskin and Anthony Hansen, and then he's got 2 over 300, Braylon Skinner and Tyler Heckert. So
Braylon Skinner is a transfer from Mississippi State. He's a 5th-year senior and a really electric player, can really run. Didn't hit that great in the SEC, but a lot of players don't. But yet he's off to a good start, and I think he brings some stability to the center of the field for them. And I know the staff's excited about what he's brought so far.
Well, Dalton Hendrick he's 1-0 with a great ERA. And then David Warren has won 2 games, but his ERA is up there, 5.91.
Well, I think it's early, and he's probably trying to get some guys into games early to see who he's going to set his rotation with once the conference play starts here in a couple of weeks.
When it comes to SEC baseball, you said some interesting things today. First off, they got great teams. We know that. They're going to end up with a bunch in the College World Series. And what have we had? 2? The last 2 have come from the state of Mississippi, right? State 2 years ago, Ole Miss last year. But as a league, they're not flying out of the gates as usual. Non-conference competition, has it improved? What are the ramifications of NIL and portal to this beginning of this year?
Well, I think it's a dynamic that is really uncharted territories. Well, the portal was set up for the player. So for a player that didn't get playing time or sees that he's not a fit at a particular school, they are allowing players to transfer and be immediately eligible. And it's really worked, I think, quite the contrary. It's now become a big-time recruiting tool for the likes of the Power 5, the SEC. Here's a good example. Memphis had a Friday night starter last year that put up big numbers. Well, he leaves. With the transition of Carrot coming in, he leaves. Now he's at Mississippi State, and he's probably their Sunday starter. So not only is it going to affect the mid-majors and trying to figure out how to convince a player to come there, allow the staff and the culture to develop this player and hopefully get him ready for the draft, they got to do a really good job of that. If not, the player's going to leave and go to a Power 5 school. He's going because he wants to play in a bigger conference in front of more fans, and then you factor in the NIL money, which the Power 5 schools obviously have more of. I think the critical thing is when you're recruiting players, whether it's at a mid-major or whether it's at a Power 5 school, you are recruiting a young player. I mean, you're getting commits now as early as the 8th and 9th grade. You're selling them on your culture. Well, your culture is how you run your program, how you do things, but yet in the rearview mirror, you're going out and getting really good players out of the portal. Here's a good example. Tennessee went out and recruited a guy out of the portal from Kansas. Tony Vitello just got put on a weekend, self-imposed weekend series probation where he was not able to, or suspension.
He tampered with the kid. There's no doubt.
He went and recruited the player from Kansas, went and visited him prior to the player entering the portal. Regardless, and so what happens is, let's say Dave Woloshin is a freshman shortstop at Tennessee last year. He's waiting for his turn because the junior shortstop's going to get drafted. Well, the junior shortstop gets drafted, and instead of this player having the job to lose, now he's behind an All-American from Kansas that they went out and got in the portal. But yet, in the same breath, you're trying to recruit players to say we have a culture here. So then you have the dynamic of like LSU, who's now being compared to the Yankees. They went out and signed a lot of players out of the portal and gave them huge NIL money. And so now you got players in your clubhouse that instead of buying into your culture, instead of buying into your program and a team concept, you have players in your clubhouse that are jealous of their own players because they're potentially getting more NIL money than you are.
Wow.
And you feel like you're worth more. So, and it's no different than any other sports. You saw it here at Memphis a couple of years ago when we had the two freshmen that were making $1 million, or whatever.
Yeah.
And they got to play. They think they're good, and they're not even good yet. But because they're getting paid, they think they should be playing all the time. So it's going to be interesting to see how all this thing shakes out. I think I've talked to several head coaches. I think one of the things the NCAA could do that would help is to say if Dave Woloshin gets, I'm just picking a number, if Dave Woloshin gets more than 60 at-bats this year, if he transfers, he's got to sit out a year.
Well, that's not going to fly. Because I don't think that does. I mean, the players have, for 50 years, they've been trying to get the freedom they got now. I think that toothpaste is out of the tube, man. I don't think you're going to get that thing to fly. I think it's more likely you're going to end up getting a percentage of the revenue and making these athletes employees before that happens. Curiosity.
That's not going to stop us. I mean, if at least say, okay, we've got $300,000 in the NIL bucket for baseball players. Each player gets $10,000. Well, then you're the Friday night starter. You're going, I'm worth more than that guy. And then you're going to go get it illegally like they've done in the past. There's no stopping that.
No. So let me ask you this. What is the average NIL salary of a Friday night pitcher in the SEC? And frankly, what's the top end? And I'm guessing it's LSU because they put out all this money.
I mean, there's guys probably getting $50,000 to $60,000 a year in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's going to increase because you know how the boosters of all these SEC teams, schools are. They want to win, and they're going to put money in the kitty to help get those guys.
What is a kid like that went through your program? That was hitting home runs in major league ballparks when he was in 7th grade. He went to Mississippi State. Yeah. What do you think he's?
He's in the Red Sox system
that's
now. But
right.
if the likes of Blaze Jordan were at Mississippi State, he'd be making 6 figures.
That's what I thought.
He'd be getting $100,000 a year.
Yep.
And that's what Tommy White. Here's a good example. Tommy White was a All-American third baseman from North Carolina State as a freshman. I think he hit 16 or plus home runs. He's now at LSU and supposedly got a Marucci deal that's going to pay him in excess of 6 figures to play at LSU. So here's what's going to happen. If LSU, for some reason, does not get to the College World Series, then you're going to see all this. This is going to kind of get blown up. They're going to be compared to the Yankees. It doesn't matter. And to me, you have to balance it out. If you don't have some form of chemistry and culture, you're not going to win when it comes down to it.
Yeah,
you're just not. All-star teams don't necessarily win.
No, he's Tim Doolin. We talk to him every Tuesday in this time slot. Tim, next week we'll talk bigger bases and pitch clock because there's controversy with that too. Thank you, buddy.
Absolutely. All right, have a good one. Thanks.
That is our guy. That is Tim Doolin on baseball. He's brought to you in part by Eflin, the Eflin Insurance Team. They're a team. You could say they're an all-star team that is very effective. Because they sit down and they get to know you. They do insurance the collaborative way. They get to know your family, what your needs are, what your budget is. How many have you got in your family? What's the most important thing to protect? Once they find that out, man, they're all over. Insuring you, protecting you with home insurance, life insurance, and auto insurance. Or if you've got a business, small to mid-size, that's the Eflin specialty. They get to know your product. They get to know your personnel. How many employees have you got? They'll even forecast you down the road. Then protect you the right way with terrific commercial insurance. All you got to do is call and talk, 901-386-4777. That spells out GER because they're big Tiger supporters. That's collaborative insurance to protect you the right way, specifically for you through the Eflin Insurance Team. That'll do it for us. Johnny Radio comes your way next.